Kill the ants, that is automatic negative thoughts. You don't have to believe every stupid thing you think. Jerry Seinfeld once said, "The brain is a sneaky organ. We all have weird, crazy, stupid, sexual, violent thoughts that nobody should ever hear. And just because you have a bad thought doesn't even mean you believe the thought, right? It's not the thoughts you have that make you suffer. It's the thoughts we attach to that make us suffer." I get all sorts of crazy thoughts, but I don't believe most of them. Welcome back to the Pod Digest. Dr. Daniel Amen is the world's leading expert on the brain. His mission is to end mental illness by creating a revolution in brain health. The term mental illness shames people. It's stigmatizing and it's wrong. These things aren't mental disorders, they're brain disorders. If the brain is healthy and well, the mind tends to follow. If you are depressed, the antidepressants aren't doing one thing for getting your brain healthy. Nobody's talking about diet, level of exercise, sleep, not living in a mold-filled home, not really allowing your kid to hit soccer balls with their head. If we can create this revolution in brain health, the incidence of mental health disorders will go down by half. A diagnosis for ADD, ADHD needs to be made from a brain scan plus from other information. Is there anything toxic in our life? Alcohol, marijuana, mold, heavy metals in your body, drugs, infections? The brain is soft about the consistency of soft butter. The skull is hard and has sharp bony ridges. 2 or 3 severe hits to our head like soccer balls to the head can impact the rest of your life. So that'll be one of the prescriptions if you play soccer. A study from England mentioned that people who play racket sports live longer than everybody else by far. Soccer was on the bottom, but tennis table, tennis racquetball, pickleball, badminton are on the top. If you grow up in a stressful environment and a hostile environment where your parents are at war, it trains your brain, your emotional brain, to become hyperactive because you always have to watch for danger. And that gets programmed early on when there's no danger, but your body still can look for the next bad thing to happen. Next question for diagnosing ADD, ADHD would be, who has it in your family? It doesn't just show up. Often children who have ADHD have one or both parents who have it, and you can see those similar traits. There are common things that most of us do without thinking that make the brain worse. Drugs, alcohol, sugar, hitting a soccer ball with your head, caffeine, not getting good sleep, are other things that make the brain worse. Fruit juice, it ultimately gives you high blood sugar levels, which erode blood vessels and hence lower blood flow to the brain. It's addictive, pro-inflammatory, makes it more likely to cause diabetes and obesity. 72% of Americans are overweight, 42% are obese. Dr. Daniel has published 3 studies on 35,000 people. As your weight goes up, the actual physical size and function of your brain goes down. That should scare the fat off anyone. And so sugar is the gateway drug to diabetes, obesity, inflammation. Inflammation causes depression and dementia. Inflammation is also caused by low omega-3 fatty acid levels. Loneliness accelerates dementia and brain problems. And so when we were isolated during COVID, there was a whole significant increase in brain problems. Alcohol in even small quantities disrupts white matter in the brain. To give context, grey matter is nerve cell bodies. White matter is nerve cell tracts. So white matter is the highways in your brain that transmit information and impulses. With the culture and society we are surrounded by, it can be difficult to quit seeing, as every social interaction apparently needs to be fueled by alcohol. And if you say no, you're either weird or someone will try and change your mind or persuade you otherwise. That's an evil ruler strategy. The food pushers, drug pushers, alcohol pushers, you should be able to look at people and say, why do you want me to drink when I don't want to? Interestingly, when you go to some restaurants, the first thing they do is put bread on the table and ask you if you want alcohol, because both of them drop your frontal lobes. The bread is an investment on their part because bread gives blood sugar spike, which then pushes serotonin in the brain and makes you happy. But serotonin drops frontal lobe function, then alcohol also drops your frontal lobe's function. So you're more likely to order more and spend more money in the restaurant. We want to focus on things that increase blood flow to the brain: exercise, ginkgo supplements, foods like beets, oregano, rosemary, cinnamon. Obviously, avoid things that cause low blood flow like caffeine, nicotine. Circling back to how to kill the ants we mentioned in the beginning, the automatic negative thoughts that steal happiness. It needs to become a habit, and hence needs to be done repeatedly. Whenever you have a thought, your brain releases chemicals. When it's a bad or a sad thought, the brain releases a certain set of chemicals that make you feel bad immediately. The hands get cold, they start to sweat, muscles get tense, and also start to breathe erratically. This all happens instantaneously. Whenever you have a positive, happy, or a hopeful thought, all of that goes away and you return back to normal. People with ADD tend to go more toward negative thoughts, as negative thoughts are more stimulating. Dr. Daniel offers an easy exercise for whenever you feel sad, mad, or nervous, or out of control. Write down what you're thinking and then ask yourself, is it true? Is it absolutely true? How do I feel when I have this thought? How do I act when I have this thought? And what's the outcome of the thought? How would I feel and act if I didn't have the thought? What's the outcome of not having that thought? And then the best part of it is to take the original thought and then flip it. For example, if I have a negative thought, X person never listens to me. Flip the thought, X person does listen to me. And then just ask yourself whether or not that's true. This way we are directing and managing our thoughts rather than being a victim of them. If you are a repetitive negative thinker or a repetitive positive thinker, that alone changes the shape of the brain. Stress releases a hormone called cortisol. Cortisol begins to shrink activity in the hippocampus, one of the major memory and learning centers in the brain. Dr. Daniel's advice to the negative thinkers is to start with awareness and then start loving and investigating their brain. If I have chest pain, I would start with an evaluation. I wouldn't start with drugs straight away. That would be ludicrous. Similarly, for depression, I need to start with why am I depressed and not just some medicine for the rest of my life. If you don't know why it is depression or any other ailment, I cannot effectively treat it. Nowadays, it's easier to sell a medicine as a diagnosis of a mental illness. This is the wrong model that psychiatry is currently operating with. Really good for the pharmaceutical industry, bad for our society. Ritalin is a psychiatric drug to treat ADD and ADHD. To be clear, it is not wrong to use psychiatric drugs, but it should never be the first and only thing thought about. With ADD, medication can decrease appetite or negatively affect sleep. But you always have to ask the second question, which is, what are the side effects of not taking the medicine? And what's the impact on your life, business, money, relationships, health? Because living with untreated ADD, for many people, comes with chronic stress because of the negative things that tend to go along with it. Taking the medicine is like prescription glasses for your frontal lobes. It helps to focus. It's like your brain with glasses. Now, you may have heard of the glymphatic system. It is a fluid system in the brain that opens up when you're sleeping and washes toxins like beta amyloid. Beta amyloid is a cluster of proteins that increases risk of Alzheimer's disease. They build up during the day, and this system cleans it at night. But if a person does not get good sleep, there is more toxic buildup of these kinds of clumping proteins that are problematic for the body. Breath work is another thing quite good for the brain. There's a huge connection between brain and heart health. Dr. Daniel follows the 15-second breath work. 8 seconds in, hold it for 1.5 seconds, 4 seconds out, hold it for 1.5 seconds. Do that 4 to 8 times. It can break a panic attack. And doing it on a routine basis can increase heart rate variability. Meditation, exercise, good sleep, hygiene also increase heart rate variability. And if heart rate variability is low, there is a higher risk of anxiety, depression, and heart disease. Moreover, the most critical thing nowadays is the screen time and its impact on our brain. It also shrinks the brain. It wears out the pleasure centers. There are 2 areas in the brain that respond to dopamine and bring happiness, pleasure, motivation, and drive. These centers get hit with a bit of dopamine with every buzz on your phone, every notification, every time you scroll and you like something. The more you do it, the sooner you will wear out those pleasure centers. With a screen time of 3.5 hours a day, there is an increased risk of anxiety, depression, addiction, obesity, and ADHD. Our society is on way more than that time. As a result, we are having this epidemic of teenage suicide and mental health problems. And not only are pleasure centers worn out, but you hate yourself because you think everybody's better than you are. The comparison dragon does the actual damage. If you can tilt someone's brain in a better direction, you're not just tilting their brain, but tilting generations to come of brains in a better direction. And that alone will tilt society in a better direction. And that's exactly the work that Dr. Daniel is doing. Thank you for watching the video. ADD and ADHD are brain disorders and needs our extra attention. Please investigate more carefully before jumping into medicine, and please don't forget to subscribe and share this video.